All right, welcome everybody. Dealing with some new technology updates, but we are live. Welcome to Hump Day Hangouts. Today is the 11th of August, 2021, and this is episode 352. So going to say hello to everyone real quick, and then we got a few announcements too that wanted to get to. So let's see. First things first, Marco, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. But I'm a little bit like Bradley. I got a bad storm brewing. I don't know if it's gonna come in within the hour, but it's looking mighty dark outside. Other than that, I mean, it's beautiful. It's warm. Been working like a dog putting out the schema software. We're finally going to release beta to a limited amount of people. Sorry, nobody on Hump Day Hangouts gets in. But we're finally letting people in so that they can put it through its paces, try to break it, give us what's right, what's wrong with it. But it's schema done the Rob Beal way, the way that it's shown in his schema course, which is ridiculous, the way that he references everything and the way he pulls in the nodes and he calls to the node. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And so putting all of that into the logic to then code it out, to develop the code to do what he taught is a challenge, which we accepted. And here we are. It's about what, 2-3 months ago since the course was released. And here we are, and we're ready for beta of the schema text software, the schema builder, not your average schema builder, not what everybody else does. We could just go and use an app to do that, to do what everybody else does, either a plugin like Yoast or an app like App Builder. No, we took it all the way there. So looking forward to that and getting some rest, by the way, getting some sleep after all this coding. Other than that, man, everything's cool. Waiting for POFU Live 2021.
Oh yeah.
So I can talk some shit. If you haven't got your ticket, I don't know what the fuck you're waiting for. If you're planning to go, I don't know why you would want to pay more, right? Wait and pay more when you could just go pay now and save some money. We're Definitely online, so you don't have to, if you're worried about risk, there's no risk other than your computer blowing up, I guess. I don't know.
Your computer melts down because it's just too good, all the content that we're going to share.
Catch a virus from the PC, I guess. I don't know, but other than that, we're good, man.
Cool. All right. Well, Bradley, how about you? How you doing today?
Well, besides the fact that it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon and it's pitch black outside, but
yeah, it's crazy, man. It looks like you're like in Chris's time zone or something.
Yeah, at night.
It's bad. That's why I said I made you a host, Adam, or co-host, so that if I drop out because of power loss, it won't kill the webinar. But I had to fire up my lights and all just so I could see. So, anyways, Things are good. Busy as hell, man. Just crazy. I'm still working on my book. I'm still not done with it. I thought I would be by now, but I'm at 17,000 words. Last week I said 15,000. I was at 13,000 last week. So I got another 4,000 done, but
nice.
I still probably got another 2,000, or excuse me, another 2 chapters to write. So I'm really, really, really trying to get this done by the end of this week. And that'll just be the writing part. Then I still got to get it edited and formatted, and it's going to be a few more weeks, but that's been my biggest priority for the last several weeks. And I'm pretty pleased with it so far. So we'll see how it goes.
So wasn't this supposed to be a 7-day writing challenge?
Yeah.
Man?
Yeah. 5 weeks ago, it was a 7-day challenge.
Well, you're just doing the 7-day challenge week after week.
That's right.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's it. I'll be good at the 7-day challenge when I'm done 6 weeks later.
I was running some errands right before coming on here. And so I was just randomly thinking good things. So I got a grandma who's turning 93, which is awesome. So I was out buying a birthday card for her. I got to send that off. And I came home and the delivery guy was at the front door. So FedEx guy, I was like, all right, cool. What's going on? I totally forgot. So with POFU Live coming up, we just got the shipment of POFU Live 2021 coins.
Nice.
Just come in. So I've got the first batch, first one to hold one. And just in case you don't know, everyone who comes to POFU Live gets one of these coins, but that's it. That's the only way to get your hands on one. There we go. Bradley's got it.
That's from last year.
Yeah.
It's right here on my desk at all times.
So highly suggest getting in now. Don't worry about it though. If you sign up later for whatever reason, you will get one. But like Marco said, you do want to get signed up. You can save a few bucks. And it's not a tiny amount. Ticket prices are going to go up as we get fuller as the time approaches. And this helps us really plan things out. So we do appreciate it, one. And then two, it's good for you. You can grab your ticket now, save some money, and plan ahead. Block out that weekend of September 24th, 25th, and be ready to really engage and get your full value out of that. So if I didn't say it, head over to pofulive.com and grab your ticket there. We got a ton of questions today, so I just wanted to mention two real quick. If you're ready to grow your digital marketing business, whether you have brick and mortar or more likely you do this digitally or you're an agency owner, then highly suggest checking out the mastermind. And you can find out more about that at mastermind.semanticmastery.com. All right, guys, with that, is there anything else we want to cover before we jump into it?
Yeah, let me just add that anybody that's looking to find out, just the questions whatever questions they have about technical SEO, we answer them at the heavyhitter.club. It's the place for technical SEO, where when you want to get the nitty gritty on what's working, why, and for us to show how, that's where we do it.
Cool.
Right on. Well, let's get into it. We got a lot of questions. So.
And Bradley, you see where the first one is there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ashish.
Yeah.
The first one.
Okay. So the question is, hey guys, hope you all are good. I recently received an email regarding the security update from Google Drive, but when I checked my drive, I didn't find any security banner at the top. Is this a selective update or coming in phases, and I may receive it in days to come? Yeah, that's probably it, because I've seen it in some of my accounts, but not in others. So I assume that it's just rolling out in phases. He says he's not getting the banner that shows across the top of drives. Like I said, some of mine do, some of them don't. So I think that's the case. Any other comments on that, guys?
No. Also, if you click the X to remove the banner, it'll go away. I did that, and it came back a couple of weeks later. That was a question in one of the groups. And really, guys, we don't control how Google is doing this. And if we had a way to really quickly get a URL to you, so that you could go and change your files, we would. But we don't control Google, unfortunately. I wish we did, but we don't.
Yeah. Don't we all? So Henry's up. He says, hi, I ordered both the deep keyword research and the SEO Shield recently. 4 questions. Number 1, how long does it take to get back to deep keyword research once the data is submitted to then submit with the Power Shield? How long does that take, Marco, usually?
Takes 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how many orders are in the queue.
Okay. Number 2 is, can I add any keywords that I want to rank for with the SEO Power Shield that are outside of the deep keyword research report given back, like product name plus review? Yeah, you can. It doesn't have to be just what was in the keyword research. If you've got a set of keywords or specific keywords that you want to build into the stack, then you certainly can. We just recommend that, a lot for the keywords that you submit, that they're market level. And again, I'm speaking from a local perspective because I always do local stuff. And so it's advised not to, add or submit keywords with location modifiers. It's more market level keywords, which is essentially like, topical keywords or service-based keywords without the city or location modifier appended to it. But something like product name plus review, it sounds like you're doing more of a e-com or affiliate. So I'm assuming that would be fine because you're not actually adding any location modifiers. Am I right, Marco?
Yeah, that's fine. And we have a place where you can submit keywords.
Yeah.
There's a place in the order where you can submit keywords. And if you submit your keyword research gig when it's returned, you get a spreadsheet. You can submit that and you can add your own keywords to that spreadsheet. You're gonna get thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of keywords in that spreadsheet. So a few here and a few there, it's not gonna hurt anything.
There you go. Number 3, I had a syndication ring created by someone else. Well, then that's it, Henry. We're not answering the damn question. I'm kidding. All right. I had a syndication ring created by someone else only for my branded YouTube channel that includes Blogspot or Blogger, WordPress, and others also. Can you create new ones with my SEO Power Shield to have double the SEO benefit? And should I include those logins too with the data? Don't we're not going to, I wouldn't suggest submitting the logins for the existing ones. If you want us to just create new ones, we'll just create new ones. And if it's for a YouTube channel, it's not going to hurt anything. You can have as many, tier one, profiles that you want, or syndication networks that you want attached to it. It won't hurt anything because it's YouTube. So if YouTube is your trigger, if you're syndicating YouTube videos or republishing YouTube videos, then again, I wouldn't worry about submitting your existing non-semantic rastery related syndication network to MGYB, because we won't touch it. But we can build you a new one, and branded or non-branded, however you want it, that can be triggered by your YouTube channel, and it won't affect anything. Okay. The only time that causes any sort of issues is if you were syndicating blog content, in which case you would want to either eliminate the old one and just go with the new one, or maybe repurpose the old one to be like a second tier trigger as a persona based or something like that, persona based network. But again, for YouTube, it doesn't matter. So just leave it alone.
Yeah, but this is for his syndication network. Didn't he say that?
Yeah,
the full
YouTube,
SEO Power Shield.
For the YouTube channel, he says I had a syndication ring created by someone else for my branded YouTube channel.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So is the YouTube channel part of his brand? Is the question.
Well, it's a question he'll have to answer. But if it's being triggered by the YouTube channel, then like I said, it won't matter if you have a new one built.
Oh, there is the next question.
I want to have both the YouTube channel plus the WordPress space branded site blog RSS as trigger. Yeah, that's fine. Again, I wouldn't submit your old one to the to MGYB. We'll just build you a new one, and just make sure you make a note of that when you in the comment section of the order form that states that you want both branded, or WordPress trigger and YouTube trigger, and we'll set that up. It's just 2 sets of applets. That's all it takes. Okay, but that way you can do that fine with your new one, because your new syndication network branded one, because you'll be syndicating YouTube content plus your blog content to it, which is fine. And if you have other syndication networks built by other people or whatever, it's fine as long as it's just YouTube triggering them. All I'm saying is don't go then and add your blog RSS feed to those other networks, because you don't want to do that. You can, that can create footprint issues. It doesn't occur on YouTube, but it does for blog syndication, if that makes sense. Okay. So in other words, the simple terms would be just leave the old one the way that it is. Don't mess with it. And just run with the new ones as they're built for you, the way that we just specified. Lastly, how long should I plan for the SEO Power Shield to be completed by? In my experience, for me, because I go in queue and just like you guys do when I place my orders, it usually is 3 to 4 weeks before I get mine back. Sometimes a little bit sooner. It just depends on how much the workload is.
That's 2 to 3 weeks. So the keyword research has to be done. It goes in the queue to that. Once the keyword researchers get the order, it takes 3 days, literally 3 days, for them to do everything that's done with the keyword research, which is filter it, remove duplicates, find your silos, your categories, and get everything to you the way that they've been shown how to do. Once that's done, you take that and that spreadsheet gets submitted along with the other details for the SEO Shield. And then 2 to 3 weeks from that, could take a little bit less, could take a little bit more, depending on how many people are ahead of you in the queue.
Go. Okay, note for question number 3, the brand name was okay. So I guess maybe I should have read ahead. The brand name is used in both the URL and the page title name, so not sure what could be used for the new syndication ring URLs created for the SEO Power Shield. We just append something to it, you could, brand name blog, like, so brand name plus blog, or brand name plus, a location if it was for local, or brand name plus, news, or, updates or something, right? You could do something, or go then brand name, or, just whatever, just get creative. You can squeeze something in there to make it unique username for the new account setup. Just make a note of that. If you have a desired account username, put that in the comment section as well.
And so if you're talking about what we're going to use for your syndication network, which is our nomenclature for what we call it. Our syndication network is your tier 1 branded. It should include your brand.
Right.
It shouldn't be any different. I don't know how you're looking at this or what information you're using, but it's your tier 1, including your G site, is an extension of your brand. What changes in the URL is the domain where that profile is hosted. So that'll be different, but you want that to be consistent throughout the web. You don't want to have changes.
Yeah, what I was speaking of was the username, not the name. You can still title each one of the properties within the network with the same brand name title with no deviation of the actual name, but the username. So like the subdomain on Blogger or Blogspot or WordPress or Tumblr, if your brand name, your specific brand name has already been taken up because of another syndication network that you had built previously, then when you go to suggest or submit the order, just put in, append something or prepend something to your brand name so that you can have another Tumblr blog set up, another WordPress blog set up. That's fine. But you still want to title your syndication network properties after the brand. Does that make sense? But it's just the same, guys. If you try to go out and set up a syndication network for a brand that somebody else has secured those properties for in the username, right? Then you have to append or prepend something to the brand name or hyphenate it or something in order for you to be able to create that blog account. Does that make sense? So you have to do the same thing here. It doesn't mean that you have to update the title of the actual brand name as the title of each one of those properties. It just means the username or the subdomain essentially has to be made unique somehow. That's what I mean. So. Okay, moving on. Gordon says, hey guys, I hope you're still well and safe this week. Thanks, Gordon. It's good to hear from you, man. He says, I have a quick question. If you're using a Google RYS Drive Stack from MGYB to boost the rankings of a GMB listing, what specific GMB link would you target with the Drive Stack? Or if you think it is more effective to target more than one specific link, which GMB links should you target? And can you also hammer those links with a bunch of other backlinks, or is it best to only use the Drive Stack? As usual, your help is much appreciated. Yeah, my preferred link, if I'm just going to use one, which typically when I have the Drive Stack built, it's only going to promote the one, and that's the CID equals. So the maps, again, gather up extension, go to Chrome, and you can get the gather up extension. That's what's up here. For example, let's just see if I can find one here. Okay, so right here is a GMB, right? So if I click the gather up extension, so if you just go to Google and search for the Chrome, gather up Chrome extension, you click on that, and right there, that maps URL right there. That one right there is the one that I like to use, which is to submit with the MGYB order for SEO Power Shield. But there are others that you can do. So for example, and I'm just going to show you, again, that's the one that I typically use. And I usually only submit the one. But if you wanted to submit additional URLs as, for URLs in the field in the order form that says, additional URLs that you want to push relevance to, or build the stack to, or whatever the terminology is, you got the long URL here that unfurls. So essentially, sorry, Zoom thing just came down on me. Just give me a minute. I should go back. All right. So this URL here, when you click on that URL or paste and go into the address bar, it's going to unfurl once the page loads here into this URL. So that's another URL you could submit. You could also shorten that URL because it is big and long and ugly. You could also shorten that with, like, say, the MGYB.co shortener. And then you could submit the short URL that is essentially a redirect to this unfurled long URL. Another one is if you go to share, go to embed a map, and then there's that view larger map button right there. If you open link a new tab, that's yet another URL. Does that make sense? So that could be another URL. And then again, once the page loads, it changes, and that's it. So that could be yet another URL that you submitted if you wanted to. Again, I typically don't go through all that. I just use this one right here. That's the preferred method in for what I do anyway. Comments on that?
Oh, because you're trying to rank them up.
That's
so
it.
Why try anything else? Now you could push links to power up your Drive Stack, which is linking to the map, because otherwise you would just be powering up everything else that's related to it. You could also put your GMB iframe on a page on your website. Take that and iframe that on the G site and hit that. So many ways to do this, man. That doesn't involve just getting that one URL where you could hammer the G site URL. But again, it's coming back to Google and getting the protection from Google. That's the whole idea behind the whole RYS concept, is using Google not only to rank in Google, but to protect yourself from Google. It's always been the entire concept, and the foundation of RYS Academy, because it's so much information is out there that's irrelevant. The foundation has always been iframes. Look at our G sites. Look at what we do. Look at how we do the link building and the embeds plus link building. Foundation is iframes.
Yeah, and one more is the share URL. So if you do the share, and this one is a short URL, which is it's a 302 redirect. It actually has a few hops. So like, for example,
it's a 302 chain.
Yeah, it's got, yeah, again, several hops. I'll show you what I mean. So you'll see it's got a 302 hop before it essentially converts to that long, ugly URL that I was just talking about. Mm-hmm. So this is not one that, like, if you're trying to push essentially link juice, right, link equity to the Google Map URL, that's not a good URL to use, that short one, that share URL, right? However, I have been doing some testing with publishing that in, like, just for content where I'm not, or in places where it's a no follow link, for example. And I've actually seen some benefit from share, like publishing that URL or linking to that URL, again, where I'm not trying to push link equity into it. I think there is something to be said. I don't have enough proof of this yet to fully, get behind it, but I think there is something to be said for actually doing some, like, content marketing where you're linking to that short URL just to add some variety. But again, when it comes to, like, again, I've been doing a lot of backlink analysis and stuff with Majestic recently. And I like to try to push trust flow into the Google Maps URL, the CID Maps URL that I was just showing you from Gather Up, for example, this one. And if that's the case, you can't, you can push trust through no follow links. But the way I look at it is it's not actually passing page rank, right, to that URL. So through the short URL, it does, however, through this URL. So like I said, if I'm going to be doing like some high powered link stuff with do follow links or follow links, then I would do it through this URL here, or one of the long URLs like we just showed, or the embed URL from the share button, as I just mentioned here, right? So that's that one right there. But for content marketing purposes and on places where there, you might be listing NAP and then, the website address and then a link to the map URL. Sometimes I think it makes sense. Like I said, I've seen some benefit recently from posting that short share URL in some places. So, but I don't have any like hard data on that other than just seeing some interesting things occur. So I don't know. You have any experience with that, Marco?
The hard data is the distance graph algorithm.
Yeah.
Whether you're building up PageRank strictly to push power, or you're building up the ranking score algorithm through the distance graph, through the art of art, which is activity, relevance, trust, and authority.
An association, yeah.
Just because a link doesn't pass PageRank directly doesn't mean that the activity on that link, both at the origin and destination of that link, it doesn't mean that activity isn't seen, and whether it's relevant doesn't mean that that's not seen. And then what happens at the end of that? How much trust and authority are you building up because of everything else that you're doing through that link? Google measures all that, and it all ends up as a ranking score. But the only way that we can build PageRank, which is the doorway into the ranking score algorithm, is through follow links. Everything else, guys, the algorithms, and I'm not going to go through all of the ones that are involved and all of the ranking factors, but they're so intertwined that it no longer matters, except for PageRank, if you're using follow or no follow.
That's right.
Because what you want on those no follow is activity anyway. Activity, you want the relevance, and you want the trust and authority, because there's 3,000 other ranking factors that you can positively affect by dropping art into that link. And so it no longer makes a difference. It just depends on how It's targeted. And Gordon, it's time for you to come over to the dark side. It's time, man. We keep telling you, join the mastermind, join the heavy hitter club, and come get the real deal on how to put all this shit together. Asking questions every Wednesday is fine, but you're never going to put everything together like you can when you're there in the webinars and in the training and applying, and you're with like-minded people who will push you into doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Agreed. And let's see, I was trying to find, let's just do this. Something else I want to just share real quick is, it's interesting. I'm not seeing the share button here. That's kind of interesting. Let me try it again from. All right. So here, oops. If you click into like if you've got reviews too, by the way, and you click into them and you see how the share button comes up, that's also, those are really good URLs also, if you're going to be, link building and things like that. And not just, as I was talking about with 301, the redirects, 302 redirects and all that. But these also, I found, tend to work great if you build links to these. So you get a share URL, just like we talked about with the map itself, that once again is the same type of a redirect. If we go here, you'll see that it's going to give you basically the same thing, a 302 redirect. See that? So it's the same thing. What I'm saying is when you're doing content marketing and things, press releases is a great source for this, because in fact, you can even ask us or Press Advantage to publish press releases or write a press release about a review. And so a lot of the times that's what we do for what I do for clients and lead gen assets and stuff, is I will have the copy link from a review, and that will become the basis of the topic of a press release, where essentially they're just, announcing or highlighting or showcasing a 5-star review. So these are really good as well. Again, if you want to talk about pushing, page rank, link equity into the actual map, then you can take that URL and unfurl it in your browser and wait for everything to fully load. And once it does, you can take that URL, as you just saw it change, and shorten that with like MGYB.co, for example, the shortener, right? And then you can submit that. But as I said, it makes sense to also publish that in content marketing, especially publish this share URL, because that's what non-SEOs would do to share a review. Does that make sense? Only SEOs that only people that would shorten a long, ugly map URL and all that is SEOs. Does that make sense? Nobody else will go through that problem. If they're just going to share a review, they're going to copy the share link. So I like to mix it up, and I like to do both. I like to push PageRank into the maps listing, but I also like to do a more natural kind of content marketing and link to assets within the GMB the way that non-SEOs would link to them. And as Marco said, that kind of helps to build association across the board. So there you go. All right, where were we? That was a good question, though. Thank you. Gary says, hey there, guys, looking to build a PBN, but with traffic and automated blogging to push link juice plus relevant traffic to my website. What's the best way to approach building ifttt and drive stacks at scale for many websites without spending huge amounts of money? Also, can we automate other backlinks to these sites? Yeah, okay, Gary, I think I saw a question similar to this in the free Facebook group just this morning. I didn't get a chance to comment on it. I don't know if it's the same guy or not. Anyway, without buying shit tons of syndication networks, you could do it if you had like topical based syndication networks, right? So not necessarily branded, but like are themed for a particular topic, for example, that you have multiple auto blogs feeding into. Like every time they publish a post, it would syndicate to that network because it's topically relevant. Like that's one way to do it that certainly works, and it can reduce your overall expenditures because you don't have to buy as many separate syndication networks for each auto blog. But you would want to make sure that they're themed properly so that it's relevant. One thing you have to be worried about or cautious about, though, you have to concern yourself with, is if you are using auto blogs that publish too often, then you have to ramp that up slowly to your syndication network, or else you can get it terminated. In other words, if you get your syndication network delivered and you've got 5 auto blogs feeding it, and each auto blog is doing 5 posts a day, then that's 25 posts a day. And it's likely your syndication network properties will be terminated because it will look awfully spammy. It's just frequency of publishing is too high, like right out of the gate. So it's not that you can't publish that many times to those networks. You can, but you have to ramp it up slowly over time. When I say slowly, it varies, but, you know, I would do, you know, maybe, you know, a couple of blog posts a week syndicated to that network for the first week or two, and then, you know, double it, right? 4 or 5 the next week, and then 5 or 10 the next week. And then eventually you get to several per day, and then you double that and double that. In other words, you don't want to just come right out of the gate with a new network and start publishing that often, because a lot of the accounts will end up getting terminated.
WordPress gets terminated.
Quick.
Period.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. So you just kind of got to season the network slowly, and ramp up to kind of a higher frequency of publishing. You can absolutely get away with that, but, you know, there comes a point too where you know you'd be doing it would be too much. So again, I don't know what, you know, how you're building your networks or your auto blogs or anything else, but I'd try to probably spread it out a bit, but do it in themed groups, if that makes sense. So any comments on that?
Yeah, I'm wondering how he defines a huge amount of money, because he can put together a team just like we did. I mean, have them go through the training, build syndication networks, and build the drive stacks and G sites. It's what we did. We didn't spend a huge amount of money. We have, but it was just distributed in monthly salaries to the employees. We train them, we pay them a competitive salary according to the Philippines economy. They get vacation, we take care of them, and in turn they take care of us. That's how we figured it out, because we didn't have I don't know, $150,000 or $200,000 to invest in this in the beginning. It was just, we were trying to see how to get going and how to put it all together. And then once we realized how to put it all together into an SEO shield, then we had the team in place already trained that could do it. So it just works out really well. Build your processes and your systems, train them well, pay them well. Again, what do you define as a huge amount of money? For some people, $1,500 a month is a huge amount of money. For some people, it isn't. For $1,500 a month, you can put together a fantastic team.
There you go. Yeah, I totally agree. You know, if you got a couple good builders that have gone through our training, and, you know, it's going to take them a little while to become really proficient at building, but once they do, man, you know, they can knock out, one builder could knock out essentially 2 syndication networks in a day if they were working, you know, at full capacity, and they're good at what they do. There's no question that can be done. So it becomes a lot less expensive that way, but you have to go through the process of finding a VA, somebody that you can hire that and put them through the training, and then, you know, make sure that they're actually working and providing you with what you're paying them for and all that kind of stuff. And that in itself can be a nightmare. So, but it does definitely make sense. If you're going to be doing a lot of stuff like that and you need a lot of those, that might be a good option for you. Okay, so Hussein says, is there any ranking benefit to adding Google AMP technology or similar to our money site? I have found absolutely zero benefit from doing that. I've done it across a couple of sites just to see what would happen, and I got nothing from it. No benefit whatsoever. Again, I don't know if that's across the board, but specifically for like tree service stuff, it didn't help at all. So I don't know. Any comments on that?
Yeah, what happens is Google came with Core Web Vitals, which did away for the need for AMP.
Okay.
I mean, they released it, and so you're supposed to take care. What was it? It's a page experience algorithm. There's so many to keep track of, guys. So there's a specific algorithm for that, and it is a small ranking factor, taking other things in your niche into account, and then other websites on the web into account. Is it a huge boost? No, it isn't. Was AMP ever a huge boost? Initially, it was, and as time went on and people started implementing it, then it's like anything else. For Google, or for you to get rhythm and action in Google, you have to stand out. And you have to be different in some kind of way. Why? Because you're feeding a data-hungry beast. And if you're simply feeding it the data that it already has, there's no reason for Google to pay attention to you, to your project, to your website, or to anything that you're doing. This is why we go above and beyond. So we add schema, and then we tune the content, and then we hit it with link building. I mean, on the website, the on page is right. We silo. We go deep into the silo. We feed it more information about our entities. We claim our footprint and say, this is our tier 1 branded. This is everything that's about it. We link build into that. We go and tune now the content that's in all of these tier 1 properties on the G site, in your GMB. If you have a local project, you can go and tune your content in the GMB in a specific manner so that it works even better. So why tune the content? Because what you're writing as content is unstructured data, meaning that the bot has to come in and understand what it is that you're trying to say. It takes those words and it brings them down to computer code. It translates that, and then it has to infer what it is that you meant by what you wrote. Whereas if you hit it with the schema and tell the bot what it's supposed to know about your website before it goes in and tries to decipher what your content is, then you've already structured it, because code is the structured data, and you've guided the bot on exactly what your page is about. And then you've gone to the content and you've guided the bot through entities, because the way that it starts is very simple grammar, and it pulls the entities to try to determine through all of the entities on that page. And remember that everything on the web is an entity. Through all of those relationships, it goes and compares that to what it has in the database to see how well, what it is that you've done to give it new information about this entity that it probably already knows just about everything about. So if you've done it differently, if you've done it better than anybody else, you win. So you not only compete now, you win, because you've taken care of both. And then on another end, and I can't go really deep into this, we're feeding it infinity power. We're pushing infinity power into everything that we do. So over time, it just creates this exponential effect where it just goes wham, and it mushrooms, and it is that snowball rolling downhill and gathering momentum and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. All of that to say, this is one small part of all of that you have to do. So focusing on Google AMP only, it's not going to help you. Or focusing only on page speed, it's not going to help you. Let me tell you why. You can have a website that hits 100 and it's in the top 5% across the web. And if nobody's visiting your website, it sucks. And if a few people are coming to your website and they're all leaving because the information that you've given them is not what they're looking for, then you may as well have a website that's a 0 in speed, because that's how Google is going to treat it. The person that's coming to visit you, where Google is also getting these core web vitals, is telling Google, this website is not good for whatever it is that you're displaying it, because I'm not finding the information. So it's all of these different algorithms, all of these different factors all coming together, and they're intertwined. And Google is getting signals from all of these things. You could have the prettiest website on the web, the most expensive website on the web, the fastest website on the web. And if people are coming in there and leaving and not doing anything with it, all you did was give yourself a toy. And it might be a beautiful toy, but it's useless.
That's funny, because if your page loads really fast and it doesn't provide what the searcher is looking for, then it just means they bounce quicker. Right? So it's like, man, I got a really fast loading page. People bounce incredibly quick too.
5 seconds and they're gone.
Garrett says, what's something we can do to rapidly start scaling up content production on our websites and drive stacks for maximum relevance? Looking to really get into content marketing, as my blog hasn't had posts added recently, and I would really like to scale things up going forward. Appreciate your tips on this. Well, there's a few things. Number one, use AI writing assistants. They're starting to pop up everywhere, actually. My team is still using Conversion AI, or it's been renamed as Jarvis now. But we just more recently started, and actually just this week, started really testing some of the AI writing in outranking.io. Played around with a little bit of the AI writing in phrase.io. So, and there's a bunch of them now. Like, you can go to AppSumo now and find AI writing assistant tools there for,
Yeah.
I'm assuming lifetime deals. The problem is, and it's not really a problem, but it's not just about outputting content, right? Because the AI writing tools can help you to do that very, very quickly with very little effort. But it's how you tune or optimize the content. So that's where you need to have, if you're just using an AI writing assistant, for example, Jarvis, then you also need to, add on or integrate it with some sort of content tuning or SEO content optimization tool, such as Surfer, which integrates with Jarvis.
Yep.
Or outranking.io, like I said, has its own kind of AI writing assistant built into it now, which it actually could very well potentially eliminate the need for Jarvis. And I've been using Phrase, Jarvis, and Surfer. My blogger has been anyways for the last couple of months, and it's been working great. However, it's 3 different tools, and Outranking looks like it's kind of combined all 3 of them into one. We just started really hard testing it this week, so I can't speak 100% whether we're going to replace the other 3 tools with the one. It's looking that way, but I don't know yet. But as I said, there's other tools out there that will do that. And Surfer is not the only one. More recently, I've been testing InLinks a lot. There's a lot of really cool features in InLinks.
Yep.
Really cool features in InLinks that I think it is probably the best entity analysis tool that I've tested so far. So I'm kind of the one doing the fine tuning of content once my blogger gives it to me. But there's, just like I said, there's a lot of tools out there that will do that. So again, just to get back to it, is play around with some tools until you find one that you like the workflow in, right? And then those are the ones that I would suggest. Then create some, process docs for any assistants so that you can outsource that to assistants. They don't need to be SEOs if they have those tools to be able to produce content very rapidly and then tune it for you. Even if you want to be the one to kind of give it the final edit or final approval before it gets published, which is kind of what I've been doing with my blogger. She does all the production and she does the outlines, then fleshes out the outlines, then she tunes the content, and then she sends it to me, and I typically will run it through InLinks as kind of a last final tuning that I do. And I like to do that myself right now, but that's probably something I will eventually delegate also. So that would be my first suggestion. Go ahead, Marco.
No, I was going to say delegate it to her.
Yeah.
Because my VA, my content writer, everything is delegated to her. And then she oversees the rest of the team. I might pop in from time to time into InLinks to see what they're doing. I might pop in from time to time into Surfer and everything else. But I mean, they write so well that I can just let them go. With still, they still need some oversight, right? I still need to make sure that they're doing it, that they're doing things the way they're supposed to be doing them. And then we're delivering it to people in for example, the mini mastermind that I run in conjunction with Samantha Mastering Heavy Hitter, the Dire Wolf mini mastermind. Most of them get content from my VAs because they write so well and it works so well. We're using right now probably 7 different pieces of software because they each do something different. I have not found one single piece of software that does everything that I needed to do the way that Jordan showed it in POFU Live 2020, and the way that I've extended it through using other software so that we can extract even more entities, add more, so that we can tune it better or rewrite it better. It's just different software does different things.
That's right.
And we just have to find the right combination. And you have to have the right people who will know what to do with the processes that you give them.
So, and here's another one that I tested with for a little bit, and I like this one. This was onpage.ai, on-page.ai. This one was pretty cool because it had some features for kind of checking backlinks, existing backlinks, to see what the, kind of the topical themes of the links that were pointed to your money pages have. So you can go back and actually tune content that, from existing backlinks if you have access to it and that kind of stuff. This one's pretty cool. I played with that one. But one of the other things that I was going to mention was, besides just using AI writing assistants, one of the other things you can do is, this is a tool from Mike Martin. called Page Rewriter. There's probably other tools that do this too. I think Mentorprise.io can do something similar. Mentorprise, well, it spins it. Forget spinning, because I'm not talking about spinning, but
No.
and this will spin, and Mentorprise.io will also spin. But what these kind of tools do is Page Rewriter, Mentorprise, is it will go out and scrape all the content for a specific search query that you add, and pull all of the content in, broken up into sections. So like all the H1, all the titles, all the H1s, all the H2s, H3s, all the paragraphs within the body. And so from the top 10 or 20, 10 to 20 organic ranking results for whatever query you put in. And so one of the things you can do, and that I've been doing a lot for recently for like link building stuff specifically, is going in and using this. I use this tool. I've been using Mentorprise too, but I more recently have been using this one. And I'll go in and I'll put my search query in, and it will pull all of the content in, and breaks it up. So like each paragraph, for example, from all 20 top 20 results will be available in the sidebar. And if I just click on it, it copies that paragraph into the editor section of the screen, if that makes sense. So what you can do is go in and like, mix and match paragraphs and headings and things like that from already ranking content. Does that make sense? And then you can go take it over to a paraphrasing tool like Quillbot.com, for example. There's another one called WordTune. That's the one Marco pointed out to me a while back. That's a Chrome extension, and will work right inside of Google Docs and stuff. There's a lot of paraphrasing tools. Jarvis will do this as well, although not in such large blocks. Outranking.io will do it. Phrase.io will do it now. So you can actually just copy, create an article from other people's content, mixed and match bits and pieces of other people's content, and then paste it into a tool like this. And with the premium, you can do up to 10,000 characters at a time and paraphrase it. And so you can actually put stop words in, like I'm not logged in right now, but you can put when I am logged in, you can actually put stop words or freeze words in and things like that, so that you can tell it, okay, these specific named entities, I don't want it to be rephrased, and that kind of stuff. And you can get really good output that's unique, that you can go, put it through Copyscape or Plagiarism Checker or something like that, and see once it gets down to an acceptable level. And a lot of the times it will with just, one pass, go through. Now you've got content that you didn't really have to produce. You just kind of had to retune it, so to speak. If that makes sense. And that's kind of this is a real, like, I stopped spinning stuff because Google can, like, the NLP algorithm is so good with Google now, it can smell spun content from a mile away. So like, don't spin shit anymore. Just rephrase stuff. And there's so many good AI tools out there that will do that for you now. You don't need to, if that makes sense. Any comments on that?
Yeah, I love Quillbot. We just showed that
Yeah, I
last
do
week
too.
in Syndication Academy. In fact, I had SC walk people through on how to use Quillbot.
It's great. It really is. Okay, next. That was a great question, by the way. Cassie says, is there any value in adding third-party videos and iframes inside our money sites and RYS stacks? I don't do it on money sites because I only want my content, unless it's, not a competitor and it's really relevant to an article or a blog post or something. In that case, we do. We'll add, like, third-party videos and stuff like that. But what I'm talking about is like for money pages, like landing pages, where I'm trying to capture like a lead information from a visitor or something like that, then I typically will keep it all branded content. Now blog posts and stuff, like I said, is different. If we're trying to, kind of reinforce a topic or an idea for a blog post, and third-party stuff can help to, kind of reinforce that idea or that concept, then we will. But that's typically, blog posts and stuff aren't, they can be used to generate leads, but they're generally, and for what we do, used as kind of internal linking to our money site pages or landing pages that we're trying to rank. So that's what I would say. What do you say, Marco?
All right, third-party videos and iframes. As long as you stay away from using your competitor stuff. I mean, again, the foundation of RYS Academy and RYS Academy Reloaded is iframes. Iframes work phenomenally well. Even using, so Rob did a test and he was able to outrank the website itself using just an iframe.
Nice.
of the website. So imagine the power that's in there. You don't want to promote your competitor, and you don't want to, I don't see how you would benefit from promoting your competitor and from outranking your competitor when with an iframe of your competitor, when they click in the iframe, they're going to the competitor. Spend a little bit of money. Fiverr has what, these spokespeople that you can hire. Give them the script and they'll give you like a quality video that you can then use where you're promoting yourself, you're promoting whatever it is, you're adding your logo. So now you're branding and you're expanding the brand through quality videos. Why do you want to do that? Because you want to hold people. You don't want to give a person a crappy video that they're not going to watch, because that's a negative ranking factor, right? It's dwell time, or not dwell time, but watch time on that video is one of the main ranking factors. And what does the person do with that video? Did they share it? Did they interact with the video? There's so many things that a quality video will get you that a crappy third-party video won't do. But iframes are the shit. Just make sure that you spend a little bit, if you spend a little bit more time, it can be your own iframes, your own videos, your own images that you're using for iframe, your own maps, everything that's yours, unless something is so relevant and from a high power source, a government site, something with a lot of trust and authority that's not a direct competitor. Those work really well. So some to use without indirectly promoting competitors. Don't use your competitors' shit.
Yeah. And it's funny because you just remembered, and you know, what's really funny is I finally signed up for Vidnami like last month, because a million people kept saying, man, check out Vidnami. It's awesome because you can submit an article or blog post or whatever, and it will literally go out and pull in like images that are relevant to the text and split it up, and like with very minimal editing. And it had voiceover and everything else that would, you know, text to speech voiceover. And there's like all this, man, you can produce videos out of content very, very quickly and with very minimal editing or input of your own. And so I finally pulled the trigger last month and bought it. And 2 days later, they came out and said that they sold it to GoDaddy. and GoDaddy's shutting it down. I was like, son of a bitch. So yeah, I'm assuming that GoDaddy is going to relaunch it under kind of a new brand. And so it may still be a viable option, but I went ahead and canceled my subscription 2 days after I purchased it for that very reason. There are some other video services out there that do some similar stuff. I don't know if they had all the features. You can go to, again, AppSumo, and oftentimes find some pretty good video production tools or apps in AppSumo. One that I picked up a few months ago, I don't think it's still available, but it does have a lot of the same features, is called wave.video.
Yep.
This one's pretty good. I don't know if they still have any lifetime deals, but this one's pretty good. It's got a lot of really good templates and everything else. The only thing that I haven't been in it in the last few weeks because I had subscribed to Vidnami, but they, at least the last time I was in it, they didn't have a text to speech thing. But on AppSumo, they had a really good text to speech app that was, you know, a lifetime deal. So I purchased that. So, you know, I can always just submit text and have it spit out, you know, the voiceover file. So, and combine the two. So anyway, just kind of some thoughts for you. Okay, we've only got a few questions left. We've only got a few minutes left too. So hopefully we'll get through these. Rug says, for tag silo blog with tags for 12 different locations combined with 5 different services, how different should the content be on each page for each combination? What do you recommend for changing up the content? I've heard I shouldn't spin content on the money site, right? Even though title and meta tags would be different. Yeah, again, I don't like to spin anything anymore unless I'm doing it manually and I keep all of the named entities intact. So I prefer not to, especially because you can just rephrase stuff now with these tools that I just pointed out, some of them. So that's what I would do. How unique should the content be? Look, I'm from the camp that always states it should all be unique content. And again, like, you know, I've got several multi-location projects, one with 12 locations, in fact. And I had my blogger actually go out and from scratch produce new content for every single landing page for that. And again, you know, it's with the AI writing assistants available, there's no reason that you can't have unique content on every page. So, and then as I mentioned, there's the rephrasing tools. So let's say you got 12 locations and you go out and let's say you get 4 articles written, right? And again, you can do this with AI writing tools, draft the articles yourself, tune them, right? And then once they're tuned, you've got 4 separate articles, and then you could rephrase those, each of them 3 times. And now you've got 12 articles that are unique. So there you go. Should I do the rewrites myself or hire writers to create the 60 variations of content? I mean, again, it's up to you. That's how I used to do it. As I would like, for example, order, say 4 articles, like I just mentioned, for 12 different, I know you're saying 60, but let's say it was 12 articles that I needed for 12 different locations. I would order 4 articles to be written, and then I would have each one of those rewritten 3 times, because it was cheaper to have an article rewritten than to have a new one produced. Does that make sense? So, and then I would also have different writers do the rewriting than the person that wrote the original, if that makes sense, so that it was always coming out unique. But with the tools nowadays, we don't need that, right? I mean, you can do it yourself by just subscribing to some of these tools. Like, again, Quillbot for like $70 for 6 months or something like that, or $60 for 6, whatever. It's really inexpensive. You can unlock you can get the premium subscription, and it's very inexpensive, and you can paste 10,000 characters in at a time. And it's very, very quick. It's efficient. It's a great way to do it. So you could maybe hire somebody to write content for you for the first few articles, and then just use tools like that. Very inexpensive. Any comments on that?
Quillbot is $40 annual.
Yeah, it's very inexpensive.
Not even.
Yeah, very inexpensive.
For premium. So yeah, on this, again, have it stand out. I talked about this last week. If you don't, what's going to happen is your pages might compete one with the other. How? Google will start displaying your pages to see which one a user likes better. This is called cannibalization, but it's Google simply A/B testing your pages. And then while that's happening, you're actually you're going to end up with not 12 unique location pages, but you might end up with 3 or 4 that Google likes above the others, and people have shown Google that they like above the others. You don't want Google to do that. So give Google a reason to keep your stuff indexed. Give Google a reason for each location page to be given a spotlight. The only way that you could do that is by making the content as unique as possible. And with the rewriters and putting it through the tuning process, there's no reason why you can't. I had them do, as a matter of fact, 10 templates for the 50 US states, 10, and then from those, each one was spun 5 times. And we ended up with, if not spun, that's the wrong word, was rewritten 5 times. So we ended up with 50, all 50 states, each unique. Then those get run through all of the process to, again, extract the entities, write for entities, get everything right, and do a little bit of editing and rewriting. And now you have great, unique pieces of content for each state in the union. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. Should you do it? No, not unless you have the time to do it and you're paying yourself to do it. Because if your time is worth a whole lot more, and it should be, then you should be doing something else and hiring someone to create the 60 variations of that content.
There you go. And there you go, guys. It's $80 for a year, $60 for 6 months, or $15 a month for Quillbot Premium.
Prices went up.
Yeah,
and $40.
It's good. It's a great tool. I use it a lot. So, quick story, and I know we're going to try to answer Ralph's questions as well. Is my daughter started 11th grade on Monday this week, and she is in all AP or IB, they call them, classes, they're all college credit classes, and she got one elective, and she had to like name 10 different electives that she wanted if possible, and she didn't get any of them. The one that was her last choice is the one that they put her in, which is creative writing. And so she was mad. She's like, Dad, I don't like creative writing. I hate writing and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I got Jarvis. And I was like, honey, you might want to keep your creative writing class, because I can show you how to use Jarvis, and he's perfect for that. She was like, well, that's cheating. I was like, no, it's not. In this day and age, it's being efficient. So anyway, I thought that was funny, because there's a chance she might end up using Jarvis to help her with her creative writing class. Ralph says, hey guys, in this world of COVID and remote work environments, I have a client who does not actually have an office or a home base. She's constantly on the road right now. What would be the best suggestion to set her up with GMB? Her home is formerly in the Minneapolis, Minnesota area. So maybe start there, set up a PO box. What do you think? Yeah, that's what I would do. Wherever she calls home or, is kind of her home base. That's what I would do is just, you can go with a PO box. You just have to use the street address option. Again, it's just an additional form that you fill out. It doesn't cost anything else. If you go to USPS.com and go to reserve a PO box there, rent a PO box, then you just got to make sure that when you put the zip code in, it will display the post offices that are close to that zip code. And it has to show premium services available. As long as it says premium services available, you can use the street address option again, and you can reserve the PO box online, but you still have to go in person to sign the paperwork and show 2 forms of ID, and they'll assign you the actual box number at that time. So that's what I would do. If
Just
you don't
real
have
quick,
access,
Bradley,
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say that they've made this a lot easier. I hadn't done this in several years. And since I recently moved and needed to set one up, I went in and maybe I was stupid and missed something earlier, but a month ago I went in and you can now click when you're signing up online to be like, I forget what exactly it was, but to use it as an address, what do they call it? Where you use the PO box number, right? So you used to have to submit paperwork for that, but now you just click a box, tell them what you're going to be sending there. Like if you're doing any doing business as type of stuff, go in, show them your forms of ID. There's no extra forms to fill out. They made it a lot easier.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was saying. If you reserve it online, then through the checkout process, it's just a checkbox, and it will you print out the forms and they're already pre-filled out, and you just take them into the post office with you with your 2 forms of ID, and it's already done. So that's what I'm saying. But it has to say premium services available in order for you to do that. So that's what I would do. By the way, just so you know, Ralph, the best thing to do though is if she has kind of a home base area and she has a friend or a relative that she could use their home address as her GMB location address just to get the postcard, the verification card from Google. That's certainly a better option than using the PO box, although you can still do the PO box. And I've done it recently, so I know it works. I'm just telling you, you're better off if you can use an actual residential address, if that makes sense. Question number 2, and then we got to wrap it up, guys. I have a client who imports Swedish pens and resells. Not much exciting about that process, but I was thinking some press releases would help give him more viewership to his website or GMB. But what the heck do I write a press release on Swedish pens, or for a press release on Swedish pens, and how many PRs should we do? PR, like the quantity or frequency, that's going to depend on competition and what your budget is and all that kind of stuff. So I can't really give you any guidance on that. I recommend at least 2 per month, once every 2 weeks. That's what I found to be kind of the sweet spot, while still being cost conscious. As far as what do you write about? Well, you shouldn't be writing press releases, right? If you got a good press release provider, such as that MGYB, who's resellers for Press Advantage, or go directly to Press Advantage, all you got to do is tell them, find something to write about from this site and give them the URL, and that's it. They'll find something newsworthy. They'll create an angle or a hook, and they'll write a 600 to 800 word press release. That's great. It's very well done through Press Advantage. Again, I would recommend that, if you've got a good press release service that you're using, let their writers do it and just provide them with, very minimal input. Say, find something to write a press release about on this URL. Give them a URL and let them go to town with it. They know what to do. Good press release writers do.
Agreed.
So, all right, we're 5 minutes over, guys. We got to wrap it up. Sorry if we missed this.